Hey YouTube, come on in, come on in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're going live. It's been a minute. Come on in, come on in. We got some things to talk about. We're gonna multitask while we talk about all things Karmelo Anthony, the state of Texas. Who else we got? Austin, McCaff, Karmelo Anthony, come on in. Hopefully your notifications are on. It's been a minute since I've gone live over here, but today I wanted to go live and talk about the trial as I do my hair. So come on. Please come on in, hit the like button, engage. Make sure you complete the poll. I want to do a temperature check just to see how people are feeling about the case with Karmelo Anthony versus the state of Texas. So come on in, let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think Karmelo Anthony is innocent? Let's talk about it. I have a lot of thoughts. It's like the more information I hear, it's like my opinions are changing from one way to another. So I wanted to come on here and talk about it just to see how you are feeling about what you're hearing. I'm sure I am not the only person who is kind of have mixed feelings and emotions about what's going on. So come on in. Let me know, what do you think? Do you think this young man is guilty? Do you think he's innocent? Is it self-defense? Let me know, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Complete the poll also. I will say that my initial thoughts, I'll tell you what my initial thoughts were going back to, I would say just earlier during the week versus today. Hello, hello. I remember when this all happened, like last year. I remember when everything kind of went down. I'm well. How are you all? Please complete the poll. You guys are going to get the behind the scenes of the twisting process for locked hair. For those of you who are not black, you're going to learn something today. So if you've been around for a while, my hair was really long and then I cut it. So then now I'm growing it back out. But many people want to know, how do I achieve my look? What do I do to my hair? Is it real? All of that. So yes, so this is kind of what I do. I've actually never done this before, shown anyone what I do, but we're going to do it. I'm like, hey, while I'm doing my hair, it's going to take a little while. Let's go live and talk about it. Thank you. So my initial thought, like I remember last year, you all, when everything happened, I just remember, hey, a young man stabbed another young man at a track meet. Just high level, wasn't a lot of detail, but I remember hearing about the case. So it wasn't like now it's kind of like new to me, like maybe for some people. So I remember when it happened. So I would say the most of the information that I have came from probably like this week, because the trial selection, the jury selection, and everything started today. Like started this week. It started on Monday. First, they started the process on Monday with selecting the jury, and then they finished up yesterday, And today starts the with the, what do you call that, open arguments. Open arguments started today. Open arguments for this trial started today. Some things that I've learned about the situation. For one, prior to my initial thought was, oh my God, like, why did he have a knife at the track meet? Like, that was my initial thought. I'm a mother of three, a 21-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So my initial thoughts was like, why did he have a knife at a track meet? Right there, to me, I felt like, okay, you started out wrong. You had a knife at a school event, which is wrong. So from there, it just goes downhill. And I'm kind of questioning you and your decision making. That was kind of where I was at. And even though, he's a young man that looks like me, I still could not ignore the fact that, okay, he brought a knife to a school event. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he broke the law. I'm thinking, so here's another thing. I'm thinking, okay, he broke the law. He brought a knife to a track meet, a school event. But what I'm learning is that, okay, there's a difference between a school rule or policy versus a law. You know what I'm saying? So yes, he had a knife, but what I've learned is that a knife, it's not against the law to carry a knife. You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, what hat am I supposed to wear? Am I wearing the hat of, okay, he has a knife and he should not have had it at a school event? Or do I only focus on, well, it's not against the law to have a knife? Y'all see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, child, like, I've been changing like my thoughts and things centered around this case the more I hear it, because I have to separate a school rule versus a lawful, like a law. A school rule or policy isn't necessarily the law. It's just the rules that are in place for the school. You know what I'm saying? So, because even my son, he just graduated high school, and I was talking to him about the case, trying to kind of get his feedback as a teenager. He just graduated high school. He'll be 18 next month. So I was like, okay, he had a knife, and my son was like, why did he have a knife? Like, why did he have a knife? And I'm like, that's the question. And then so I let him know. I'm like, well, from what I'm learning, it's not against the law to have a knife in the state of Texas. It's a right to carry state. So he did not break the law with having a knife. So remember, early on in the week, I'm like, this young man had a knife. Why did he have a knife? Regardless of his race, he was wrong for having this knife. Had he not had this knife, then the other young man would still be alive. Why couldn't they just duke it out? Like, these were the thoughts that were going through my head. But fast forward to today being Thursday, I've learned that, hold on, make sure my camera is still working. So what I've learned is that, okay, well, yeah, he had a knife, but he didn't break the law. So I'm like, okay. So you're dealing with a moral compass versus, okay, were there any laws broken? Child. When I say I would not want to be on this jury, I would not want to be on this jury, because these are the things that these people, who's on the jury, these are the things they have to deal with. And I've been following a woman. Her name is Queen Sheba, and she sits in on the trial every day. She's been there all week. And she was saying that there were a lot of potential jurors. You know how you got to show up for jury duty to go through the selection process. There were a lot of people who were just saying, like, they felt like they couldn't be objective with this case, because some of them felt like, okay, well, he had a knife. Why'd he bring a knife? So they're like, okay, well, even though it's not against the law to have a knife, are you still wanting to hold that against him or whatever? And they were like, yes. They were like, but even though you now know that it's not against the law to have a knife, they're like, well, he shouldn't have had a knife. Why he had a knife? So yes, I cannot overlook that. So I'm not your girl, I'm not your guy for this trial. Very interesting. So it seems like, there's a lot of people who just were like, yo, I don't even want to be a part of this trial. And then I've learned that there are no black people, no African American people, no black people on the jury. But like I said, I was following someone, her channel, if you want to follow her, is Queen Sheba, Shiba. She was saying that, that she said with the jury selection, it was maybe started out about 600. She said that probably like 60% of the jury, the people to choose from, the selection were white, she said. So she felt like, yeah, it would be a mostly white jury based off of the pool that they had to choose from. So fast forward to today, Thursday, we've learned with the makeup. I know it said it was like 8 white males. There's some Asian women on there. I think some people, other women of color, like Indian, but there's no like black people, no black men or women that selected for the jury. So it's just like, okay. So again, like I said, I learned that having a knife this week. I've learned that for the state for Texas. Maybe I don't know if that's everywhere, but like for Texas, it's not against the law to have a knife. So if you want to look at that part, he did not break the law by having a knife. So now we just kind of got to look at the situation. Hey, how are you, Ariana? Now we have to look at the situation as to, okay, so he had a knife. Let's get past, okay, the notion of what, or the discussion on whether he should have had it or not, because by law, he can have it. Let's talk about or see if we can learn what was his reasoning for feeling like he needed to have one. You see, because I was hearing people say that there was a history of bullying um, from, with the twins onto this young man, Carmelo. But then as the opening state arguments happened today, and they said that these young men, like they didn't know each other. So I'm like, okay, well that's interesting because remember it was a lot going on out there saying that this young man Karmelo Anthony was being bullied. So okay, well being bullied what starting from that day because right now I think that the prosecutors are saying that there was no previous interaction between the kid, the men, the boy, Carmelo and Austin. Some of you may know Austin has a twin brother. So when the incident happened, the twin brother was there. Austin, they say, died in his twin brother's arms. But what the Carmelo team is saying is that when he went underneath the tent because it was raining really bad, and I learned that his school, did not have a tent. But the directive at the track meet was, hey, you all, thunderstorm is bad weather, take cover under the nearest tent, whatever. And he went underneath the tent. He went underneath Austin's tent. And when he went underneath Austin's tent, Austin and his twin brother kind of stepped to him and was like, hey, leave or whatever. I've learned that Carmelo, he knew someone who I guess attended the school that Austin went to, who was also underneath the tent. I think the person he knew was like a friend of his girlfriend. So he went out, he did know someone who was under the tent. He had a friend who was under the tent, but Austin did not want him to be underneath the tent. Austin, from what I'm learning, could not regulate, who could be under the tent or not. But I also learned that Austin, there was a text that was sent to Austin earlier that day asking him to be the team captain for that track meet. So I don't know. My guess is that information has come out because they want to show, okay, this is why Austin kind of was territorial about who can be underneath the tent because he was the team captain for that event. So I'm like, okay, this is me just putting things together as to why that information came out. It's like, okay, are they saying the reason why he was regulating who could be underneath the tent is because he was the team captain? So as a team captain, he was able to kind of do that and make the call on, okay, who can be underneath the vent or not, who can be underneath the tent or not. That's what I'm wondering. So there's that. What else did I learn? It's a good chance that Karmelo will not be testifying during the jury selection. So again, you all, I'm getting this information because I've been following someone who sits in every day. Her YouTube channel is Queen Sheba, so she's been kind of talking about it. And his team put out there that Karmelo may not be testifying. And the attorneys wanted to know, okay, if he doesn't testify, would you all have an issue? Would you hold that against him? And some of the jury prospects were like, yes, I would. It's like, well, why? They were like, well, I feel like you should defend yourself. And you all remember, it used to be a time when it was like very norm where when someone was on trial, they didn't get on the stand. And when things started switching where we started seeing them get on the stand, it was just like, oh my God, why did they get on the stand? I feel like it started to become a new norm for people who are on trial to get on the stand. Have y'all noticed that? Like you're starting to see more people who are kind of basically on trial get on the stand. So I don't know, if the idea of not getting on stand and it being like a bad thing, if that's kind of going away. But the people who were a part of the jury pool, some of them had issue with the idea of him not getting on the stand, and they were like, if he didn't get on the stand, that would be very telling for them because they're like, if you didn't do this, Carmelo's not denying doing it. He did say, listen, I did this. The day it happened, when the police rolled up on him, and he's like, allegedly, whatever. He's like, no, not allegedly. I didn't do it. So it's like, okay, he owns up to doing it. But we don't know if he's going to get on the stand. I think that I believe from what I'm hearing, from just what I was hearing about, I guess the reports that was being said as far as what was taking place during the jury selection. I don't think that I'm not expecting Karmelo to get on the stand. Now his team could very well change their mind. They could very well change their mind based off of maybe how things are going, and if they feel like, okay, we have to put him on the stand. But his team did express that, okay, it's up to the state to prove their case. It's up to the state to prove their case. Like the defense are like, listen, we don't really have to do anything. It's up to the state to prove whatever. Karmelo is out on bail. I think his bail was maybe at about $250,000 last year. It was like set at something really high. I think when he first got arrested, like around $1 million. And then I think it probably because it became like a big issue with the media, it got lowered to like 200 and something thousand. So of course, once it got lowered to that, he got out on bail. I believe, I'm not quite sure. I know there was crowdfunding that took place. I think there was a GoFundMe or something that took place. So I'm not sure if that was the money that was used to get him out, but I know there was crowdfunding that took place, and there was like, I recently come to learn there was some controversy centered around that, where people were accusing his family of using the money to buy things, like other than his trial, using it for like, I think they were trying to say that his family bought a new vehicle or something like that. Child, I missed all of that. So, but apparently, just background is like people were trying to say that, oh, okay, his family wasn't doing what they were supposed to do with the money and everything. So it's been a lot of controversy centered around this case. So I also learned today that the twins, they're almost like 100 pounds bigger than Carmelo. Carmelo, he's a little guy. They say he's 5'8", 130 pounds, and the twins are 6'1". Like between 115, like around 115, 120. I've heard someone say 115, and then I've heard a news outlet say that he was between 120 and 130. So roughly about 100 pounds bigger than Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony was a little guy. So when I learned that today, it had me to reflect back to my earlier thoughts when I wondered, okay, why would he be so quick? As in earlier this week, I wonder why would he be so quick to pull out a knife. But when I learned the measurements of these twins, I'm like, oh my God, they're huge. They're huge. So I can see why someone of the stature of Carmelo, why he wouldn't be so quick to roll up his sleeves and fight the twins. I mean, they were big. It was two of them. They're huge. I'm like, well, what sport in track and field are they doing? Are they doing the shot put? Do anybody know what part of the track and field experience were the twins a part of? Because I know good well they ain't running nobody 200, 100, 400 relay. You not doing nothing like that when you weighing 215, 220. You're not doing that. I need to know what the hell they doing in track. If they throw what you shot put, maybe they can even be throwing the stick. I don't even know what you call that. But I know you ain't running nowhere. You not sprinting. So I want to know what the hell what the twins do in track and field. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing in that sport? Because they were big. So when I learned the size of the twins, I'm like, okay, now it makes more sense to me as to why he would be quick to pull out a weapon when he's gotten into a confrontation with these young men, because they are so much bigger than he is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, it makes more sense to me now. That part makes more sense to me now. So if they want to go on the angle of self-defense, I can see how they can try to go down, and say, okay, he was afraid because, okay, two of them were coming, because they say that apparently, I think his team is saying both of the twins were walking towards him. It seemed like only one of the twins touched him, but both of the twins were like walking towards him when they were like trying to force him out of the tent. It's just that he had the physical encounter with just only one of them, if that makes sense. So he had the physical encounter with one of them, and then I think I guess the one that's not with us anymore, Austin, told him, hey, get out, whatever, was walking up on him. And then Carmelo kind of said, hey, kind of on some touch me again, or you bet not touch me, or, he basically called his bluff. He called his bluff. And when he called his bluff, he had reached into his bag. And I guess nobody knew kind of when he reached into his bag what he was getting, but he called the bluff of Austin. So Austin went ahead and pushed him. And after that, Carmelo stabbed him in the chest. Carmelo stabbed him in the chest. So he did it after Austin still, after he said, hey, basically warned him, don't do this or whatever. And Austin did it anyway, not knowing what was about to happen to him as a result of doing it. So when I think about that in the scenario, it's just like, okay, Carmelo, he's small. I'm not looking for him to tussle with these twins at 130 pounds. I'm not looking for that to happen. So if that is what happened, then I'm like, okay, it makes more sense to me why he would have it makes more sense to me why he would have pulled out a knife. If that's the case, if these boys were like 215 plus pounds and he's only 130, that makes a lot of sense to me, because I think the average person wouldn't try to tussle with someone who's 100 pounds heavier. I know the hell I would, but so that part makes sense to me. So I'm just wondering, I guess what I have to see is, like, with the defense side, his team, what their argument is going to be as to, like, how strong their argument is going to be to justify him pulling out that knife. I also have come to learn that after he stabbed him and he left the tent, I think after he stabbed him, he dropped the knife, and then he didn't leave like the track meet. He ran over to like one of his coaches. So he didn't flee the scene. He just went to seek assistance from another adult. Over when he was over there, that is when the police kind of came, questioned him, saying, "Hey, allegedly you did this, that, and the third," and he was like, "No, it's not allegedly. I did stab him. Is he okay?" And then they told him, "No, like he's deceased." So I don't know if he died on the spot there. I think he might have died on the spot. I know they said, I mean, the brother was holding him. And so, hello, welcome. You all come on in. Make sure you like the video, complete the poll. So I think they said maybe he might have died in his brother's arms still at the track meet, but Karmelo only stabbed him one time. So it wasn't like it was repeated jabs. He kind of stabbed him in the chest after, he told, the Austin, "Hey, kind of on some don't touch me again. If you do, it's going to be or else type situation." Austin still did it. Karmelo went ahead and followed through with what he kind of said he would. After he did it, he ran over to his side, to his where his team was at, and I guess told them kind of what he did. And they together, waited over there until the authorities came. And Karmelo, he fessed up, he said what he did. I was seeing in comments on some content about Karmelo being kicked out of school. I don't know if some of you heard this, where he wasn't supposed to be there. He had been kicked out of school. So when you're kicked out of school, you're prohibited from attending school events, being on campus or attending school events, which is typically true, when you are kicked out of school. Like I said, I got kids. But when I researched it, I went to Google it because I had never heard that about him being kicked out of school. I had heard how he was like an A student. He had like a 3.7 GPA. I think he used to play football or something like that, and was voted to be like team captain, but he ended up being diagnosed with a medical condition. I think they said epilepsy or something like that. So it kind of, I guess, halted his aspiration to kind of, I guess, be this football player. So when I Googled, okay, Karmelo Anthony, to learn, like, okay, was he kicked out of school at the time? The internet search came up saying, no, that was not true. And it proceeds to talk about how good of a kid reputation he had as far as with, his temperament, his, let me see, his what type of student he was, how he was just a great student, all these. So started talking the same positive things about him. So I don't know where that came from. So what they have been putting out there in the media is like, yo, like when I listen to different attorneys, they're like, listen to the facts, refrain from kind of your judgment or making a decision, listen to the facts. I wish that this was like televised, because I feel like when things are televised, it's more transparent, and we as the people can make more informed decisions on things and not maybe base it off of information that was maybe miscommunicated. Because like I said, right now I'm listening to someone cover the story who's physically there, and you just never know, like, if somebody's putting some extra sauce on something, if they're exaggerating, if they just lying, you don't know. So you're just taking a chance on whoever you're listening, just questioning, just trusting their credibility and that they're going to come back and give you honest information, which I do believe is happening with this particular content creator. Check her out, Queen Sheba. She's there. Let me see, it's after, I don't know if it's Texas an hour behind, because it's 5:44 where I'm at. I'm in Georgia. So she usually each day after court, she'll kind of go live kind of in front of the courthouse. So I had to listen to her live for today. She did a short that probably took place earlier today during break or lunch. So I got to check out her live for today to see what the update is, to see kind of her thoughts as to what happened. But in her short, she did kind of present, as she calls it, factual information about the case. And one of the facts, she did like 6 facts. And I'll try to remember as many as I can. I know one fact is that the twins were 100 pounds bigger than Karmelo, that Karmelo was only 130 pounds. She said they said the twins were like 120 to 130. They weighed 120 to 130 pounds. And that the twins were 6'1". Carmelo Anthony is 5'8". What else she said? They said that when after he stabbed Austin, he ran over to another adult, the coach. Like he didn't like flee the scene or anything like that. He just went over to where an adult was at. What else? Trying to think some other things that factual information that she said. Let's see. I've been listening to her and also some other, actual like kind of like mainstream news outlets who have people kind of in the courtroom. So I'm trying to just think about with both of them, kind of like, what they, let me see. Let me try to turn my camera on. I got this fancy new camera stand. I might need to charge it, but okay. Is it moving with me? All right, here we go. So I've been listening to like these different news outlets talk about it, and so that's what I'm kind of telling you all. I don't know if you all been following it, but I always say if I was like a full-time content creator, you all, I would cover like stories like trials. I like listening in on trials and things like that. I'm very analytical. I'm a deep thinker. My background, I have a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. So I like to try to understand the thought process of people. Why people do what they do. Like that's just my jam. Naturally, I do that. So I did it so much to where people were like, why don't you just go to school for it? So I ended up going to school and getting a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. But it's just rooted in me just kind of having questions. So I'll be having questions. I'll be wondering why the hell people do what they do, when they do, like all of that. So as a, as someone who has an education in mental health counseling, like, watching these trials, it's very fitting because it has me to kind of think about the thought process behind, the thought process of people to try to understand why people do what they do, and so that's my thing. So if I did content creation full time, I think I would do that. So right now, this is a trial that I'm really kind of really into with trying my best to kind of follow and keep up with. So I'm happy I found kind of like a content creator who is able to do it to where I can kind of listen to her do like, daily, commentary on it to see kind of what's going on. She's kind of like our eyes in the room. So I'm appreciative of that because I wish that, I can kind of be there. So this case, is very interesting. I think it's just sad. It is, I am saddened, for the loss of the family, Austin, family. I don't, it's just, I'm a mother, I'm a parent, I'm a mother. Like, I can sympathize, I can feel all of that, all of that. I just hope that it's going to be a fair trial, especially after knowing that there is no representation of Carmelo's ethnic group, Black. There's no Black people. So that's kind of concerning to me because from my recollection, historically, when that is the case, the trials, no, there's, when that's the case, it's very evident, or there's a lot of things about the trial that's evident to people, in particular in my community, who are like, yo, it's evident that this was not a fair trial, that, they didn't try this right due to race. Did any of you follow that trial that recently concluded? I think the verdict maybe came back on Monday. With, I think it was Mr. Child, like the store owner of the convenience store who shot and killed the 14-year-old Black boy. I didn't even know anything about that case until, remember, I started following the Karmelo Anthony case on Monday because that was the first day of like with the jury selection. So while I was on YouTube, I saw video in my recommendation saying, the jury is out, we're awaiting the verdict for the trial. So I'm like, the verdict for what? What's going on? So when I, researched it at the time, it was like on the video I clicked on, it was just people in the chat talking because they were like waiting for the verdict. So then when I kind of Googled the case, that's kind of how I started to get information centered around the case. So as I'm reading the information and the circumstances, mind you all, I didn't follow anything from the case, but just reading the situation of, young black boy was accused of stealing bottled water in a store. He left the store. The owner and his son took off after him, chased him down, and the owner shot him in the back and killed him. It very high level. Owner claims, he shot him because the young boy pointed a gun at his son. So as I'm reading that, I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna find this man guilty. He shot this boy in the back. Like what? Child, when I seen a couple of hours later that the verdict came back saying that Mr. Chow was found not guilty, I was like, oh hell. Y'all, my hair was standing up on my head like it is now. I was like, I know you at the line. Like, what the, like you all, like when you just read the details of the case, it's almost like one of those common sense type where you didn't even need to follow the trial. You just read it and you're like, oh yeah, this man was like on some other type of stuff. No. After I learned what the verdict was, I then was like, yo, I have to go back and watch videos of this trial because I'm trying to understand what did I miss? Because just reading the details on paper, like it had me to be like, oh yeah, like first of all, why are you leaving? When is it ever okay to follow someone from the store and then shoot them down versus you just calling the police? Like that part wasn't sitting well for me. So the fact that he left the store, I'm like, oh yeah, he's wrong for that part. Like you're out of line. You can't just leave the store and go chase somebody down because you think they stole. Where they do that at? Like it's not even like the incident happened with the young man still in the store. That makes more sense to say, because we've seen stories like that. Remember, I think there was a black girl years ago that was killed. They was accused her of stealing or whatever, and she was shot and killed. And there's been a lot of stories of black people by non-black people shot and killed in like stores. A lot of it centered around the store clerk thinking that the person was stealing, and then when the evidence and everything come out, you see that it was no that wasn't even the case. So when I seen that he had left the store, when I read that, I'm like, okay, so it had me intrigued. So I went back and kind of watched the testimony, watched the teenage son's testimony, because Mr. Chow had a son who was working in the store that day. He was the one who also chased after the young man. I think his name was Cyrus or something like that. So he 19, 21, I think he's like 22 or something like right now, because I think that case happened in 23. So he was on the stands testifying and things like that. And they were like, well, how much does water cost? Is it like $1.98? And so basically the young man concluded or agreed that, yeah, the water is about $1. So they didn't chase this 14-year-old boy out of the store over $1 bottled water. Mind you, they done left the cash register all unattended, because when they chased him out the store, it was a guy standing looking confused at the counter because it looked like he wanted to buy him some damn scratch offs or something. So he's looking confused as he's seeing the energy or witnessing the energy that the store clerk has towards this young boy, because it started out with the wife, Mr. Child's wife, following the young man inside of the store. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, like during the trial, they showed the video surveillance of the young boy in the store, and you see where he's at the refrigerator, and at one point he did grab water out of the refrigerator. He grabbed like 4 bottles, but just as quick as he grabbed them, you see him putting back all of the bottles. You see that on the damn video camera. So the boy, after that, he decided, okay, I'm just going to leave the store. And then that's when they started questioning him about, and accusing him of having water in his hoodie because he had his hands in his pocket. And he was like, I don't have any water. But he never took his hands out of his pocket, which he didn't have to. But he was just like, I don't have any water. But he did kind of move his hoodie around to where I think you would be able to tell, because you know what a water bottle is cylinder. So just with his movement, you would be able to tell if he had a water bottle. So to me, he could have had anything else, but a water bottle wasn't it. They were actually accusing him of having the water bottle. So the boy was just like, man, gone, so he grabbed his bag and just walked out of the store. He didn't even run. He just casually walked out because he knew he didn't do anything. He wasn't expecting for them people to be on his tail and follow him after walking out. So he walked out, they followed him, and when they yelled out like, hey, the father, Mr. Child, yelled out, hey, and that's what prompted the young man to take off running. I think they said he took off running equivalent of the distance of like the length of a football field. So he's running so fast, y'all, he done ran out of his shoe. So he left the shoe in the parking lot. The wife, Miss Child, she picked the shoe up from the parking lot because that's how afraid this young man was. But in all, the clerk's son ended up, catching up to the boy. But the father shot and, he shot and killed the 14-year-old. Yeah. And he died. So, but he got off. Yeah, he got off. Sure did. He got off. So it's just like, I learned about that on Monday, and then this situation with Karmelo Anthony. I'm just like, it's just a lot, dealing with these trials pertaining that have, Black people involved. And anybody who got just a lick of common sense knows that historically, Black people we don't get a fair trial. We don't get fair trials like other groups of people do. Because just even in the situation with the young 14-year-old who died, there's been conversations centered around, okay, if the young boy who was being accused of stealing was white, would the clerk then would have made it that serious to feel like they needed to chase him down the block, like for some water? Why wasn't just calling the police not an option? Like, really, when you think about it, why isn't calling the police an option? Why do you have to go chase the person down for some water? I told y'all they took off running after the boy and left the cash register at the store unattended. Like, remember I told you there's a Black guy in the frame standing at the counter, like wanting to do a purchase. He could have now gone, robbed. Anybody could have robbed him because they left the store, left the cash register unattended. Remember, the wife was outside grabbing the little boy's shoes. Nobody was in the store, you all. They then left the whole business unattended to go chase after somebody over a potential bottle of water valued at $1. This that stuff that I be talking about. And then the idea, and then they're like, well, he had a gun on him. Okay, he still died with a gun on him. Y'all the one chasing after him. Let's just say if he even wanted to use the gun, he had every right it could have been used in self-defense because you all were wrongfully chasing after him. So then I had to go to Google, y'all, and find out, well, hell, did they ever find the water bottle? Because remember, it started with them saying he had the water bottle. So at this point, I'm like, well, damn, I need to know. I'm invested now. Was there a water bottle found on the scene next to his body? Like where he had, child, according to Google/AI, no water bottle, y'all. There was no water bottle found. The boy did not have a water bottle. So he's dead over them, an accusation of him stealing a water bottle that he did not have. You cannot tell me that Mr. Child, the wife, the son, you cannot tell me that they sleeping well at night. You cannot tell me that they are sleeping well at night, knowing that they killed somebody over a water bottle, and then it come to find out the person didn't even have the water bottle after they did all that. You cannot convince me that them people are not psychologically impacted, because the guilt, yes, he was found innocent, but still it's going to haunt that family. I don't see how, y'all, where the hell George Zimmerman? George Zimmerman got off. Is George around here living? What kind of life George Zimmerman living? Because ever since he got off, I ain't seen him outside. Like, where is George Zimmerman? Is George Zimmerman outside? Is he going to the local carnival, the local fair? Is he going to the movies to see Michael Jackson? Is he going to the water park? Like, what kind of life is George Zimmerman living? Because here's the thing, you may get off in court in the eyes of the law, but it doesn't mean that the people, the opinions of the public, y'all remember with Casey Anthony? It doesn't mean that the opinion of the public is just suddenly going to side with whatever that verdict was, especially when they know that it was like some foolishness, some shenanigans, some trickery going on. So I feel like, and I got to thinking about their son because he's young. He's like in his early 20s. I'm like, I wonder what kind of social life do he have? And especially after this, because he was on trial, on the stand testifying. I'm like, I wonder if he's in college, like his peers, what kind of life he has, because this young man can't be outside either. He at home with Mrs. Child and Mr. Child. They in the house. They Netflix and chilling, because I don't see nobody inviting him to the frat party. I don't see him getting no invitation to the party. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I don't see that at all. So I think that life is going to be very different for the child. I hope that they business, I'm wondering that convenience store that they operated from, I'm wondering if that's still been, how that's been going. If people have still been going to that business, because here's the thing that when I learned from, the attorney of the 14-year-old who died, is that I listened to a press conference they did. And the attorney said that apparently there is other complaints by people in the community about the treatment of the customers by the owner, but the attorney said that he was prohibited to bring up anything, I guess, about that man's character that was outside of that case. He said he wasn't able to do it. So then the question becomes, people in the community, if y'all know that the Childs, Mr. and Mrs. Child, and their son is on some other type of time where they racially profile, do this, that, and the third, why are y'all still doing business with them? Why are you still doing business with someone who's showing that they don't even like you or your kind? Because this is kind of what it eventually led up to. So I'm wondering, I don't know the name of that business to know like what's going on with it now, but I hope that right now, I hope that people are not doing business with them. Like, I really hope that people aren't going there. I don't know if they also had gas, if it was a gas station as well, or just a convenience store. Whatever it is, whatever they sold, I hope that them sales halted that day when that incident happened. Because Black people, I don't see how you can justify still supporting that business after all of that happened. I don't care if you got to drive an extra mile or two to go somewhere else to get to buy some damn soda, something you damn don't need anyway. Some cigarettes, like I said, something you don't need anyway. You just gonna have to go the extra mile to get it, because you have to teach people how to treat you. And if you continue to reward people for poor behavior, like still patronizing their business, even though they're showing you that they don't like you or give a damn about you, then it's on you when they continue to do it, and eventually it's on such a big grand scale to where now there's a life loss. Those people in that community also failed that young man as adults. They should have just said, you know what, y'all, we're not going to shop here. We're not going to do business here no more. Because the way you hit somebody that's just not operating on a moral compass, you hit them with their pocket. Y'all see how the Black folks did Target. Target ain't been the same shit going on 2 years. Target has been struggling ever since. It's been well over a year since the DEI thing or whatever, Target's business has not been the same. That is the power of the dollar, in particular the Black dollar. Black people make less money than other groups of people, but guess what? We're the bigger spenders. Think about that. So when we get pissed off and say, F you, we not going to spend with you, that is a whole entire problem. That's an entire problem, because we spend so much money in within the world, within, what do you call it, just what do you call it? Like we're big spenders. We like to shop. And we don't have what they say, mama made $1 out of 15 cents. The one thing that a black person know how to do, they know how to make $1 stretch. And that stems from us being used to not having fair, equal wages as other groups. So we learn how to make it do what it do on pennies. Y'all let me know, I'm talking about, where you ain't got a whole lot, but how many of y'all grew up and as adults you came to learn that y'all really didn't have a lot at all? But mama or daddy, grandmama, whoever raised you, they handled their business in a way to where you had everything that you needed. You wasn't going without. And it took for you to become an adult to be like, damn, like we really was on some struggle time. But mama and daddy made it happen. And so black people, that's kind of the way it's been for us, like all our lives. We know how to endure struggle because our life has been struggle. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. So right now, while a lot of people are going through these like tough times, they're like, how the hell, like black people, like why y'all ain't out here? Because really a lot of the compilations I see where people talking about financial struggles and everything, y'all, it's mostly non-black people. They like, well, black people, why the hell y'all ain't said this? Because we ain't new to this, we true to this. We're used to the struggle. We're so used to the struggle to where it's just like now these other groups are just now starting to feel the pain. So and they think it's the end of the damn world. They like, oh my God, they better go back and listen to Tupac where he said, "Mama knew how to make $1 out of 15 cents." Like that is real. That is real. So we know that. They don't know that. So they coming to learn now what it means, what struggle is, and they like, oh hell no, black people, y'all been doing this for how long? Like they like clutching their pearls that this is how we've been living for as long as we have. And it's just like, well, yeah, like you do what you gotta do. Like, what else were we supposed to do? What else were we supposed to do? We couldn't just lay down and cry. We still had families to feed. You just be strong. Black people are taught that we have to be 10 times better than the next person who's not black that's working alongside of us. See, y'all who not black, I'm gonna teach y'all gonna learn some things about just the black culture over here. Because I'll let you know. With black people, like we go above, like, say for me, I have like a lot of education. I probably got more education than the average white person. Again, I done told y'all that the way that we're raised is that we have to do things on a like 10 times better than the next, just to be seen, just to be able to be invited to the boardroom. You know what I'm saying? It's like we just have to do that. Even when we are better, more superior, it's still a fight to be recognized. And more often than not, we're still not given the accolades in a way that somebody who's non-black is, and whose work is not more superior than ours. It's just how it is. It's man and black man and woman. It's just how it is. So more often than not, we don't complain about it. We know what it is. We just continue to do us as other people watch us and wonder how the hell they do what they do. They view us as like damn superheroes. Like, how the hell black people do what they do? Like, I get so many people who just ask me questions. They just be in awe with just the things that I do. But the things that I do is just rooted out of, well, this is just me. This is survival. This is just how I roll. And they don't understand it. They're just like, how, Sway? And with me, it's like I don't really have a lot of. I don't have a response other than God and the fact that I just do what I gotta do. I do with it, and I don't spend time fretting over the why I gotta do it. I take notice of the fact that I have to do something. This is what I have to do. I have to go to school while I work a full-time job, raise 3 children, and be a wife. I have to. I have to do these things so therefore I can create a better life for my family. Like it's just rooted in that. And then so you kind of look down and work hard, and then we don't look back up until like we've achieved our goal. That's pretty much how it is for black people. So that's how we get a lot of ish done, is because we're motivated to want more. And then we know that the only way we can doggone be able to even be considered for something that's great or that's not struggle life is by us having to work so hard. Like we know that this is necessary. This is what we have to do. It's just the game. Like we understand that this is just the game. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about, we may talk about it amongst ourselves, but we do what we got to do. We have conversations with each other that, other people, other groups of people aren't privy to. And in those conversations, we're motivating one another. We're motivating one another to keep going because we understand that the cards are against us. We understand that we have to work hard in a way that other people don't. We just do what we got to do. We do what we got to do. And oftentimes, as we're doing it, we're not looking like we're struggling doing it, even though deep down in the inside, we have feelings too. We may be down and out and feeling like, the world is against us and want to break down and cry. But just because we don't do it, it doesn't mean that we don't have those moments where we feel defeated. We just turn to one another for strength. We turn to a higher power and pray about, we pray for strength to keep us going. That's all we do. Like, as we're seeing with these court cases, Black people, we're a praying group of people. Many of us, like myself, say, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Black people are either religious, claim to be religious, or spiritual. We're a praying group of people. So again, back to those who ask, damn, Black folks, how y'all do it? I'm telling y'all, we're very spiritual. We're very tapped in. Black people are the first people. So all y'all, anybody who's not Black came from a Black person. So if you don't understand that, go do your research. But we were the first, we were the original group of people. We were the originals. Everything started with Black first. So we know these things. We move in a way to where we know we don't have anybody, we don't have any allies. It's just us. We're on our own. So we uplift one another. And that is what you're seeing when it comes to, say, particularly this case with Karmelo Anthony. You are witnessing Black people coming together because there is no other group of people. We don't have it like, let's say, even with the Hispanic group. The Hispanic group got other group of people who come into their defense when it comes to this immigration stuff. Whites, you even got some Blacks coming to their defense. But more often than not, when it's a heavy issue centered around Black people, we don't have other groups of people that's coming to our defense in that type of way. No, you just see, you just see Black people getting together because we don't have anybody who ride for us the way we ride for us. We don't have that. So we ride for ourselves. So then when other groups of people start going through the motion, they want like, okay, Black people, where y'all at? We know how y'all got strength and y'all can ride. Why aren't you riding for us? Why? Because we finally came to see that we go out there and ride for everybody else, but nobody come and ride for us. So we learned. So after with the whole immigration thing, like we learned that, you know what, we're gonna sit this one out. We're not gonna go out there and be on the front line anymore like we have been in the past. We're not doing that anymore. We've done it. We don't win when we do it. We get hurt. We lose our lives because when people show up to the protests, they want to zoom in on the Black people. Even though it might be other groups of people who are showing out, they don't want to focus on them. They're going to just zoom in on the Black person, spray them, arrest them, or whatever. So Black people are like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're not gonna participate. It's not safe out there. It's not safe out there. So we're learning, we've learned. It might took a while, but we've learned. Just like we know that with this trial with Karmelo Anthony, and there have not been any Black people on the jury, like we know the play. We've seen it. This is not our first time at the rodeo. We've seen it. We see the shenanigans. But again, we continue to stay prayed up, be a strength to one another, be a support to one another, however we can, because as they say, there is strength in numbers. There is strength in numbers, and that's what you're seeing with this Karmelo Anthony. You're seeing strength in numbers because it's Black people all across the nation who are banding together, who are coming out and being vocal and being supportive of him and his family during this case. Why? Like I said, because we ain't got nobody else. We just have each other. We just have each other. It's the truth of the matter. We just have each other. So this is what it is. This is what it looks like when Black people come together. When Black people come together, we are a powerful force. We have the ability to come together. We come together when we want to. And right now, this is a time where we want to band together. And so you're seeing us band together. And it's a beautiful thing. It's fortunate that we got to do it under these circumstances. It's unfortunate we got to do it under these circumstances, but it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. It's one of those things to where it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Let me know your thoughts on it. With the Carmelo Anthony, I'm just going to try to be optimistic that things are going to be done fairly for him. Uh, yeah, I'm just optimistic. Things will be done fairly. He'll be treated fairly. But it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. I really, really wish though that we could watch the trial because I just think that it gives transparency to the situation. Yeah, I think transparency is always good. I think all cases should be able to be televised and watched. I just think that it takes, I personally feel like I think people feel better about seeing kind of what's going on to ensure that, or to feel like, things are being done properly than to hear about something later and then uh, you question if things were done right and all of this. Like, yeah, I don't like that. Hopefully, we'll move towards the time where um, it'll be standard for all court cases to be televised to the public. I just think that that's always going to be. I think that's always going to be better. Yeah, that's just kind of my opinion with it. I feel like it's just better when things are televised. Take out the guessing game. So tomorrow, I guess we had open arguments today with um, the Texas versus Carmelo Anthony trial. Tomorrow might start probably the first person being put on the stand. I think today with the opening testimony, I think from what I learned that I think each of the attorneys had like 20 minutes for their opening. It's called I'm not testimony, the opening argument, their statements. I think each side had like 20 minutes. So they did that today. I don't know. I haven't heard anything else that took place today other than the opening statements. But again, the person who I follow who's in there, I haven't watched, I have to check out her live after I finish this live to see kind of what she reported on for for the update for today, to see if there was any testimonies heard today. I haven't also heard either with the estimated time for the trial. I'm not sure like how long, like is it standard? Should we expect this trial to be like 3 weeks? That's something I haven't heard anyone talk about as far as with the estimated length of time this trial should probably take before they're sent out. The jury is sent out, I guess, for what deliberation is that what they call it? I don't know. Y'all can let me know if you've heard anything about how long the trial should take. I hear Alexa in the background talking. I didn't even say her name, child. That's a whole nother lie. Alexa talking when you ain't even talking to her. The world of AI. They're always watching. Yeah, I did hear that there were two black women who were being considered as jurors, and the prosecution team ruled them both out because they're educators. And they said they felt like because they were educators, they would have a bias towards students. So that was what their argument was, and the judge went ahead and agreed to not allow for those two black women who were educators to be selected as jurors, even though the defense kind of rejected that notion. Then they were like the last two black people who were left to be considered for the jury, and the prosecution was like, nope. And so that was that. So that here we are, no black jury again. I've heard that there wasn't any black jurors on the trial for Mr. Child, the store clerk who had shot and killed the 14-year-old. But I'm not quite sure if that's true or not. But that's what I heard. And that was also another trial that wasn't televised. I don't know. That trial was, because you can watch it online. But yes, I'm not quite sure about the how what the makeup was as far as with the people on that for that jury, but I've heard that it wasn't any like black people on there. So if that is the case, that's very unfortunate. If that is the case, that is very unfortunate. Because I feel like for anyone's trial, there should be representation of their group. If it's an Asian on trial, there should be Asians represented. I mean, in the jury. If there's a Hispanic on trial, there should be Hispanics in the jury. Like, to me, it was like 600 people from what I've learned that was kind of being considered to be on the jury. And out of 600 people, you said it was no black person that was good enough to be a part of the jury. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. No black person at all was good enough to be on that jury. Okay, that's what y'all trying to convince us? Okay. 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 So we'll see. I know the county that it's in, it's a predominantly, I don't know what the demographic makeup is, but I know it's supposed to be like a pretty well-to-do county that's made up of people who are well-to-do, and that it's predominantly white. Um, but I just still find it hard to believe that there wasn't a few people, black people, who weren't good enough to be able to be on the jury. Yeah, very sad. But we just have to, at this point, just hope that it's just fair. Just, I just hope that it's fair. Whatever that looks like, I just hope that it's fair and they follow the law. And even when it comes down to, or it gets as far as to where there's a guilty verdict and with a sentence connected to it, I hope that the sentence is also something that makes sense, because a lot of times, we've seen with people of color, black people get harsher sentences than other groups of people, in particular white people. So I just don't want to see this situation where this case he's treated more harshly than other groups of people who have committed similar crimes. Like that's yeah, I just don't want to see that happen because we've seen it many times where other groups of people they're dealt with in a different way. Other groups of people are dealt with in a different way, and I think with the black community, that's just what we're just don't want to see because we feel like we just kind of watched that take place earlier this week with the 14-year-old who was killed by the store clerk. But what they say, yeah, in the Donald Glover song, "This is America. This is how it goes. This is how it goes." The same rules don't apply to everyone. This is how it goes. What can you do? I am coming along. What I am doing, I am retwisting my hair. So my hair is locked. Well, it's not locked right now. It's in the start early process. I had it locked. If you're familiar with who I am, hello, my name is Chic. Welcome. But my hair was locked before. I had long locks, and then I cut it like at the end of last year. And so now I am in the process again of locking my hair. So this is where we are. So it's super short, so it's more of a process for me, more work because I'm used to kind of dealing with longer hair, more hair, but we're coming along. We're coming along, so trust the process is what they say in the lock community. Trust the process. So you guys are watching the process. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You'll actually be able to see what the process look like as you watch my hair quickly grow, because it will grow rather quickly with the locks. It's just, yeah, it'll grow, and you'll have memories of when it was barely an inch long, and then it'll be back down my back again. It's just kind of how it works, which is why I kind of cut it versus combing it out. Because, child, when people comb their locks out, like they'll spend literally you all like a week. Like you literally have to go off the grid, take off work. To comb it out. Like those people who actually comb their locks out, it takes a long time. If you're doing it by yourself, or some people pay someone to do it and all that. So I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do all that. We'll just cut them and start over. So this is what the starting over process looks like. So I decided to do a live talking about the Carmelo Anthony trial that just started up on Monday. Technically, they started with the jury selection that took place on Monday, wrapped that up yesterday, and today was opening arguments for both sides. The prosecution team, and then the defense. So I'm sure both sides have a team of lawyers. So it's definitely going to be very interesting, very high profile. I think regardless of which way the verdict goes, I think it's going to be very intense. And then, like I said, just especially following the trial, the ending of the trial, with the man who shot and killed the 14-year-old who he accused of stealing a bottle of water valued at $1 from the convenience store. And so the 14-year-old, he's no longer with us. because he and his wife and his son thought that the young man had stolen a bottle of bottled water, valued at $1. So that young man, I don't know if his name Cyrus or something. See, I think it's Cyrus is his name. Because I just learned about his case like this week when the verdict came back. So that was Monday. So otherwise, I was not familiar with that young man's case. But I'm familiar with it now that I know that, you know, the man who shot and killed her in the back was found not guilty. Yeah, he was found not guilty. Very sad, but that was the outcome. That was the outcome. I think with our community, it's just like we really can't really, with emotion wise, really take another blow where we feel like there's injustice taking place with us. We that's just not something, you know, we're really hoping that that's not what's going to happen with this trial with Karmelo Anthony. We're really hoping that it will be a fair trial, because we don't feel like the one with the 14-year-old, we don't feel like, as a collective, when I say we, you know, the Black community don't feel like that trial was fair at all. Like, it came down to, you know, the jury unanimously found Mr. Child not guilty. So I don't know what that jury, what that jury was made up of. I've heard that it wasn't Black people on that jury, but I'm not quite sure. I haven't confirmed that anywhere or tried to kind of do research on it. I've just heard uh, just some people, not people that I would find again as credible. I just kind of heard some chatter on social media about there not being any Black people on that jury against the Mr. Child, the store clerk who shot and killed the 14-year-old because he thought that he stole a bottle of water. Yeah. Crazy. It's like, they say you can't make this issue up. There's so much going on in the world. So it's just like to know that this type of stuff is happening on top of all else that we got going on. It's just asinine. Mm-hmm. What do you do? Like I said, we are a praying group of people, and you know, prayer works. So it's strength in numbers, and that's kind of what we got to do, is just be strong for one another and just keep the faith that, you know, we will get justice. That, you know, justice, you know, we'll get justice however we get it, but we'll get it. Please complete the poll. I'd like to know kind of how you feel about what's going on. Like, I need to check it and see what the poll looks like. Let me see. I said, will Karmelo Anthony be found not guilty due to self-defense? 45% say no, and 18% say yes, 36% say not sure. I think right now I'm not sure. Right now I'm not sure. Based on the little bit of information that I've heard, um, based on a little bit of information I've heard, I'm leaning towards a not guilty, but I need to hear some more information. At the top of the week, I was more so leaning towards, okay, him being guilty because he had a knife and he was he shouldn't have had it, but that was me thinking about him not having it from a legal perspective. But now that I've learned that it's not against the law to carry a knife, it's just like, and then if he's going down using an angle of self defense, it's just like, well, and then I learned these boys were like 100 pounds bigger than him. Austin and his twin brother were like 100 pounds bigger than him. I'm like, the self defense thing makes sense because who's about to sign up to fight someone physically who's 100 pounds bigger than me? I know not me. Not me. I don't think most people is going to choose to sign up to fight someone who's bigger than them. I think the average person, if they had access to a weapon to protect themselves against someone who was bigger than them, I think they would use it. Yeah, I think they would use it. So I do feel like Carmelo's team is going to have their work cut out for them as far as with the angle, as far as with the self defense. Speaking on, why he had the knife. Like, okay, if he had it for self defense, what was going on that had him to feel like he needed to have a knife ready for him or on him or in his possession for self defense? Like, I think that's going to be important. Some people feel like this is a case where Carmelo has to get on the stand because ain't no way they're going to be able to win this case without him getting on the stand. So, I'm not sure. Like I said, lately I've been seeing a lot of people who've been on trial getting on the stand and testifying in their own trial, where there was a time where that wasn't the norm. It was more so norm for people who were on trial to not testify. Like y'all remember OJ, he got off, but he didn't testify in his own trial. I feel like nowadays a lot of people are testifying in their own trial. So I'm not quite sure if he's going to testify, but it's a good chance that he won't testify in his trial. But I don't know if it's going to make a difference yet. I mean, that's why I wish that it was televised, so therefore I can kind of form my opinions based off of what I'm seeing myself versus having to rely on what someone's coming back to report. I don't like that part of like court cases. I like following court cases, but I like the ones where I can kind of watch the testimony, see, the person, how a person's behaving in the courtroom while they're on the stand, getting cross-examined, all of that. I think to me that makes a difference for people when they're trying to, form an opinion on someone. Um, I think that most people, it's more favorable to them when they're able to hear the testimony themselves versus listening to someone else give their take on what they just witnessed or heard. Like most people, it's like a concert. What do you like better? Would you like to be there, or you want to just hear somebody tell you about what it was like being there? Listen to someone's story is nice, but a lot of times it's just like, okay, if it's something that's like a lot of times it's just like we want to kind of be there and kind of witness things ourselves in certain situations. I think something like this, people would like to be able to kind of witness what's taking place in the courtroom themselves instead of having to rely on what someone is saying. Right now, we're having to rely on what someone else is saying with this case, with this Karmelo Anthony versus Texas case. And I think a lot of people are not really feeling that, but hey, it is what it is. Like just like with the guy in New York who's on trial for killing the insurance guy. Was that for United Healthcare? like, because New York doesn't allow for the cameras to be in there anyway, so it's like you have to kind of rely on, people coming back. I think we have to rely on. I don't think that case is. I've seen some. It might be getting televised. It might be televised. I've seen some stuff on on like YouTube with him sitting in court. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know because if once the full trial starts, if that's going to be televised. But I guess I have seen cameras on him in court. But I know like the Diddy trial wasn't open to the public. What else? Trump, when he was on trial in New York, that wasn't open to the public. So I guess when it comes to New York, I guess I don't know if maybe there's some that are open to the public and some aren't, or I don't know if it's like all of them not. I'm not sure, but that's another one I would like to watch. With the guy who shot and killed the executive at the um, United Healthcare. When did that happen? That happened, I think, in 2024, maybe. So, yeah. Like I said, I like court cases. I like to follow court cases. If I was did YouTube full time, I would pretty much probably cover court cases. Don't never really have the desire to be an attorney, but I just like to kind of like it from more so, like I said, the psychoanalytical part of it, just because my background is clinical mental health counseling. So I like to kind of look at the behaviors of the people and things like that, like the people who are on trial, the people who testify. I just like that aspect of it. So, but otherwise, yeah, I don't want to be the lawyer that's having to be up there and fighting it and all of that. I actually have a sister who's kind of working on, she's studying and trying to prepare to get into law school and things like that. That's her jam. But yeah, not mine. But listen, good luck, sis. But yeah, it'll be interesting, I guess, once you get into it, just listen to her talk about just cases and things like that. But I like to, get her, I get her opinion a lot on just, I'm curious to know, I need to find out from her what's her thought about this trial with Karmelo Anthony, like, because since that's kind of like an interest that she's working on her getting into law school, I like to hear what she has to say about matters centered around the law and things like that, because it's like one day that's kind of what she's going to be doing. She's going to be, paid to represent someone or a company or whatever. So it's always interesting to kind of hear the different perspectives of people when it comes to these types of cases. And sometimes, yeah, it's like I don't have to always, share the same opinion, with her. That's fine, but it's just, it's not about agreeing. It's just about just hearing the different sides. Just people are going to have different opinions. So I think it just comes down to, having all the information, the facts, and then making the most informed opinion, decision, all of that. Basing it off of the facts, not emotion. And the person who I've been following, Queen Sheba, check her out. Her YouTube channel is called Queen Sheba. From what she's been reporting back, as far as with the jury selection process, there are a lot of people who had emotion, their feelings in the case, and they were outright just telling the judge and I guess the attorneys that, listen, I'm not your person because I think she said one guy, he was a black guy, and he outright told, that everyone, listen, I can't imagine putting a black man in jail, especially, for life. So I'm not your person, so he said that, of course, knowing that would have him to not be selected. So I'm wondering, remember, it wasn't a lot of, black people who were able, who were part of the jury pool selection, but I am curious to know of how many of them may have openly expressed that no, this not the case for me to be on. How many of them was that? Because I do know there were some who did express that they just felt like they wouldn't be the right person. They wouldn't be able to make a fair decision on the situation out of pretty much emotion. Yeah, and that was both blacks and whites who kind of were like that. That were like, I can't do it. And the person who I was listening to, Queen Sheba, she was like, it seemed like it was more of the women who were expressing that it would be a challenge for them to leave their feelings out of it. She was like, most of the men were like, were pretty much fine with it, but it was like mostly women who were like, nah, I can't do it for this reason or whatever. And it was just centered around the emotion of it, being a mother, like not being able to not factor in that Carmelo Anthony is is a child. I still view him as a child because he's I think 18 now, but he was 17 at the time when the incident when he killed the guy Austin. They both were 17. I think Carmelo's now 18. So he's been tried as an adult. Carmelo's been tried as an adult right now. So he can face from 5 years to 99 years. Ruby says death penalty should be on the table. Well, Ruby, as you know, it ain't. It's not. So praise God for that. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe. I feel like if Carmelo is found guilty, I feel like anything more than 25 years would be excessive. I feel like anything more than 25 years would be excessive, given the circumstances. But I want to say that if Carmelo is found guilty and he is sentenced, as of right now, with the information I have, I'm not gonna him being. There is a part of me that feels like there is some guilt there. The fact that he had a knife at the track meet. I want to learn some more context behind why he had the knife. But based off of that, I'm like, okay, you killed somebody. Now it may not have been intentional, but it resulted in death. So the fact that your actions resulted in death, I can't ignore that. I have to learn some more, hear more context centered around why you went that route. Like, why did you bring the knife to the track meet? Like, I want to know. And there's so many people who have that question. It's just like, I need to understand. I need a better understanding as to why he felt like he needed to have a knife at a track meet. Like, help me understand that. Because I need to understand, you all, like, why was there, like, what are some reasons, let's brainstorm together. What are some reasons that you can think of as to why someone would have a knife at a track meet? One reason I can think of is just say if someone was experiencing some problems already with, say, someone, and they kind of was now just traveling and moving around with a weapon. That's a reason. What else? And a lot of times so here's the thing with that. A lot of times when people do move that way, they live in communities that are kind of rougher communities. So they create this habit of just always kind of carrying something. That wasn't the case with Carmelo as far as with the community, the neighborhood, because from my understanding, this particular neighborhood community, this county, is kind of like a pretty kind of well-to-do type county. So that wasn't the situation. But it doesn't mean that he wasn't having problems with someone in the county, even though from a statistical standpoint, it doesn't show that the county is problematic. You understand what I'm saying? So just because the bulk of the people aren't an issue within a certain population, it doesn't mean that there aren't problematic people around. Everywhere is going to have some problematic people. It just comes down to the percentage, the number of problematic people within that community, that demographic. So it's a numbers thing. Nothing's 100%. So that's why I really would like to know or hear, like, what was the reasoning as to why he had a knife. Now, sometimes people carry sharp objects for other reasons. It could be, you'd like to have it for just to have on me for if I'm just someplace and I need to use something sharp, kind of like, like a pocket knife. Because I think this is what it was. It was more like a pocket knife. So sometimes people, like, yeah, I just like to have it because it's something, I just like to keep something sharp on me. It's just something that I like to do. It's not that, okay, I had an intention on using it or anyone. I just, for various reasons, I like to keep, I like to just have a pocket knife on me, maybe protection, maybe an animal may walk up on me or there's something that I'm doing as I'm moving about and outside, and I might want something sharp, so I just have this little pocket knife. I have not seen what the pocket knife looks like, so I'm wondering what it looks like. Does it look like some little small knife, and it's just something that he just carried? So I'm just curious to know the explanation because the defense side is trying to make it seem like it was like he came there on some type of I wanna like as though it's almost like premeditated, almost like he had this mindset of when I get there, it's gonna be on and popping. I dare somebody to do this. Like this is how the prosecution is painted. They're making it seem like he came there on demon time, but it doesn't make sense it doesn't make sense that's the case when you look at the background of this kid. It doesn't make sense that a kid with his, let's just say, resume, for lack of a better word, a kid with his resume or reputation, it doesn't make sense that he would have been showing up to that event with bad intentions. Like it doesn't make sense because they're factoring in his character. Like, okay, does he have a history of showing up and just being problematic? And from what the defense is saying, I'm like, no, he was an honor student. Like he's an A student. Like, no, he had a good reputation. So it doesn't make sense that for somebody with a good reputation, if you're judging his history, it doesn't make sense that he would have been there on demon time, like ready to just get it on and popping. It doesn't make sense. And so I think, with the prosecution, that's going to be the challenge they're going to have, is trying to convince the jury that he was like this bad kid that had bad intentions. And anybody with common sense, you're going to be like, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, he did this, but I'm not going to say that based off of his history, it makes sense that he would have been coming there with the intent on just murking somebody. Like, because even when he stabbed the boy, he didn't know that he killed him. He just stabbed him. But he stabbed him in the heart, and it was enough to take him out. So Dylan is no longer with us. Dylan is no longer with us. He has a twin brother who is still here, but Dylan is no longer with us. And another lesson I feel like that's a takeaway from this situation is that you can't go around putting your hands on people. Just because Karmelo came to that tent and Dylan did not want him to be there, it did not warrant for Dylan to put his hands on that young man. So just as someone may say, well, Karmelo, Anthony, he didn't have to stab him. Also, looking from the other side, Austin did not have to put his hands on Karmelo. So to me, given that Austin was so easily able to just put his hands on this young man, to me it gives that it's not his first time putting his hands on somebody. This was a big boy. To me, it gives bully, like he's used to throwing his weight. And this was a time when throwing his weight went wrong. So I hope a takeaway from here, even for the surviving brother, is that you can't go around putting your hands on someone just because you think you can because you got some type of advantage, maybe because you're bigger than, because I'm sure it probably wasn't nobody else, probably too many people at the school or even in the community, including adults, that they were big, that was bigger than them. They were big boys, what they said, 6'1", anywhere from 215 to 30 pounds. I've heard these are big boys, way bigger than my husband. Like, they were huge. Karmelo Anthony is only 130 pounds, 5'8". So those of you who are parents out there, think about the size of your child. Now picture them having a confrontation with someone who's 100 pounds heavier than them. Just think about that. And the person who's 100 pounds heavier than them gets physical with them. Realistically, do you see your child who's 100 pounds smaller than that person being able to defend themselves with their hands against that person? So this situation has me kind of thinking about that. That's why at the start of the week, before me knowing that information, I was more so leaning in, okay, why did Karmelo have this knife? He shouldn't have had this knife. I was more so leaning on like him being guilty because first of all, you was on some other type of time when you came with this knife or whatever. But now that I've learned more information that's factual because it's coming out in the trial, it started that opening argument started today. I'm learning some things that has me to think about things more so from Karmelo Anthony's standpoint, as in, okay, well, maybe this was justifiable with how he responded because the person who was challenging him was someone 100 pounds heavier than him. So I thought to myself, like, wow, what if I encounter someone 100 pounds heavier than me and I had a weapon or something on me? Would I feel like in that moment using it? Will I feel like using it in that moment when I know that I have it accessible? Or will I just do a push and tug and allow for myself to get in a physical altercation with them? And Lord knows what happens from there. I truly believe that most people, if they have something that's that they can physically defend themselves against someone who's they deem as bigger and stronger than them, they're going to use that. It's a lot, I know, y'all. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm also curious to know um, if the outcome of this trial, if it will have a severe impact on just how people in the community in Texas where this took place, how they interact and deal with each other, um, or even how the people just across the U.S. or just who's watching, this case, following it, if it will just impact how people start to respond to one another. Because we got a few things going on centered around race. Like you all been watching, like with the just think about Chud the Builder, and right now he's in jail. I believe he's still on a $1 million bond after shooting a man, a black man, and also shooting his own damn self in the midst of that. But for weeks prior to that incident happening, he was going around on camera on his social media taunting black people, calling them racial slurs and things, and daring them to step to them. And what I'm coming to learn when it comes to defense and stand your ground and all of that is that, and I don't know where Chet the Builder is. I don't know if he's in Texas, where he's at, or California, but what I've come to learn is that you can't provoke someone and then when they respond to you unfavorably and you do something to them, uh, you can't say that you were standing your ground and you were defending yourself and following the laws surrounding self-defense. So that is something that I've kind of come to learn this week with the case with the Karmelo Anthony. Because with the Karmelo Anthony, prior to him stabbing Austin, the white kid, he had made a comment of, like, the prosecution side is saying he made a comment to Austin saying, I dare you to touch me or do whatever. So they're putting that in a category as provoking. He provoked Austin. Now, I don't feel like, based off of what I know about the situation with Karmelo being under the tent and the boy Austin saying, hey, leave, and stepping up to him and saying some things, and Karmelo saying, well, if you do that, I dare you to do that. I don't feel like that's taunting. I feel like that's his response to someone who's coming at him aggressively. Whereas with Chuck the Builder, in his situation, it wasn't like someone started coming at him aggressively. He started taunting the person, and then they started to respond to him aggressively. You see what I'm saying? Like the difference there? So right now, it's just like there's a few things going on that's centered around race that has people kind of on edge. They have people on edge. And with this case with Karmelo Anthony, following the case with Mr. Child, the man who shot and killed the 14-year-old, who he accused of stealing water from his store, I just think that the black community, we're kind of on thin ice with our tolerance for these unjust things taking place with us. Now, with Chud the Builder, I did hear that the charges against the man who Chud shot, they were dropped. And I suppose they were dropped because witnesses testified or said, or gave statements that said that, hey, Chud was the aggressor. Yes, someone said pink skin, glowing, said all the jury are white people. Not all the jury are white people. All the men are white, but there are some other groups of people that aren't black. So there are some people of color, but they're not black. So when I say people of color, there's some Asians. I think they said there's some Indians, but there's no black people. So the people of color, because when they say anybody who ain't white is colored, but within color, everybody who's colored isn't black. You see what I'm saying? So there's no black people in this pool of color. So right now, that's what, the prosecution is like, Karmelo can't fall on the stand your ground or whatever, defense, whatever, because he said do such and such. I dare you to do whatever. But Carmelo's side is saying, well, no, that's not what was said. What was said is that as long as you don't touch me, we're all good. You see the different wording? As long as you touch me, we're all good. I still personally feel that regardless of which way he said it, the fact that he was responding to Austin, who at the time, based on the defense side was the one who was the aggressor, kind of approaching him. I think that Carmelo had a right to say verbally whatever he wanted to say in that moment. Because he's now responding to someone who's aggressive to him. He's not the initiator. He's not the agitator. He's responding to the person. So I don't see whatever he says verbally, how that can be, really held against him. If it wasn't something centered around, okay, Carmelo said, hey, I'm about to take your life. Like, that's not the testimony for both sides that Carmelo said that. The way he responded to Austin wasn't anything that had someone to believe that he was going to take Austin's life. I don't even think that was the plan for the young man to take Austin's life. I think that his plan, well, if the boy were to get physical with him, his plan was to hurt him, to teach him a lesson, not to take his life. They said Austin got stabbed in the chest, and he's 6'1", Carmelo's 6'8". So now as I'm thinking this through and talking to you all, I'm wondering what that looked like, as far as, because Austin was stabbed in the chest. So if Carmelo is like down here and Austin's up here, is Carmelo's head, like, is he at chest length? I guess he would probably be at chest length to Austin, because Austin's 6'1" and Carmelo's 5'8". So I'm just trying to think of what that would look like, as far as like the effort being put into Carmelo stabbing him. Like, is it a kind of upwards, straight ahead? Just like, what would that effort look like? So I imagine that's probably going to come into play during the trial, when they look at, okay, the angle at which Austin was stabbed. But does that matter? I guess it matters to me, because to me, it's going to take more effort out of Carmelo if he's having to do something, versus somebody being in his face and he just react and just go straight forward. You see what I'm saying? It's less effort to me just to go straight forward than you just go reach it up, because when you're reaching up, to me, that gives intent that you're trying to hit a certain organ. It's like you're intentionally like, no, I know I gotta go up and hit that area if I'm going to have the impact that I want, versus, okay, you just hitting whatever that's at, just at the level of your hand. Yeah, do you understand what I'm saying? I think that's going to just, make a difference. And I say that because there was another case that I recently finished following, or I didn't really even follow it. I saw it after they kind of did the verdict of the young girl in Florida who had stabbed her boyfriend in a parking garage. And he had multiple layers of clothing on. And she was like, well, we were playing, goofing around, and by accident, I stabbed him. And so, but it came out with the case that it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, because I think he was taller than her, and also he had multiple layers of clothes. So when, I guess, what do you call it, is at the forensics, when they kind of looked at everything, they were like, no, that's not possible, that it was just an accident because of the force that was put into it. The force that was put into it gave that, no, you intentionally wanted to pierce his heart, because it went through like a hoodie, like it went through all these different layers. So based off of that, they can see that it was force because of the different layers that it went through before piercing his heart. So that's why I think I'm thinking about with Karmelo, but with that, where exactly on the body does Karmelo stand to Austin to know, like, okay, did he just simply reach forward and it landed where it landed, or would he have intentionally kind of did a certain type of reach for it to land in a place that would have him to think that it's okay, if I hit him there, it'll kill him, you know? You know how something like stab somebody in the leg, it's like, okay, likely he's probably not going to die versus you going to their chest. You know, sometimes people will try to hurt somebody on a part of their body that they view as non-deadly, but they just want to hurt them. Then you got some people who are intentional and like want to just aim at certain parts of the body with the intent to kill, you know? So that's why I'm kind of curious to know with this case, um, yeah, what that was like. So I would imagine, you know, that's gonna come out, you know, in the they'll have some forensic. I don't know if that's what you call them, the forensic person, or is that the body examiner? I don't know what you call that specialist, but I would think that it would be somebody who's an expert in that who would come in and you know, speak to that. Yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot of layers to this. I just hope that the world who's watching it, the people who are watching it, are viewing this as lessons to learn from. Uh, you know, I just, you know, kids, adults. I just hope that everyone's kind of viewing this as, you know, a lesson to learn from, and uh, one of those hard lessons being that you can't go around putting your hands on people. You need to keep your hands to yourself. That's a lesson. And then for those who choose for whatever reason to carry a weapon, I hope that those who do that, they're really thinking that decision through the with carrying a weapon. That, and they think it through on, okay, well, what if I need to, you know, what they say when you pull it out, like what if I need to use it? Am I prepared for what's to come when I pull it out and have to use it? And, you know, I want people to think about all scenarios beyond the scenario, beyond, okay, you getting the person off of you, but also think about the scenario centered around your defense. You know, if you have to try to justify certain things, because I find that, like, a lot of times what makes a difference, say if someone takes someone's life and they talk about, well, their reason was, you know, protecting themselves, there been a history of whatever, people are looking to see if there is a paper trail of anything that shows that you had a history with that person, or even a history of things happening to you, let's just say, so in that community, to give justification why you would feel like you need to have, you know, a certain type of protection on you. I think all of those things come into play, and that's why it's good to go on the record. Like, if you are having some problems with someone and you know that there's a chance that you may have to defend yourself, and while defending yourself, it can result in something serious taking place, like someone seriously getting hurt or even losing their life. I think that it is smart for a person to have a paper trail that shows a history of the issues that you've had. Kind of like with domestic violence cases, where there's been times where women have taken out their partners or whatever, and they say, well, they did this to me, that to me. That what people are going to look to see is if there's a history where you've reported said thing happening. Because if there is no history where you've ever reported, people could or may believe that you're just saying that to justify what you did. Because if all of that was taking place with you, why don't you have any witnesses to say, to corroborate your story, to say, yeah, she told me this, I seen this, or a police record to show, okay, she came in and reported this on this day. Like, people are looking to see if you have anything to back your story. And so I feel like it's important to where, sometimes people want to be quiet, silent, they don't want to tell their business or whatever, but sometimes you telling your business can protect you, because if something goes down, it's on record that you told that something was happening to you. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you're defending yourself, there is a record out there that shows where you talked about having issues with a particular person or whatever. So it wouldn't be super surprising when something happens and it results in you defending yourself, because it's on record of you expressing that you had an incident with this person. I hope that makes sense, but to me, that's a takeaway from this situation. Um, report it. You have to report it. Sometimes people try to deal with things themselves and it don't work out when you're trying to deal with things yourself. It's okay to get help, but you need to tell somebody, you need to document it. Even if, say, you didn't tell the police, but you have a documentation where you told someone what was going on with you, that can make a difference. You got something where somebody can kind of come and maybe, be testify or show some text messages where you text saying somebody such and such did something to you, where you got pictures where you sent it to someone showing them what somebody did to you. It's just protecting yourself, really. It's just protecting yourself, really. So I think that's why with Austin, many people want to know what was his reasoning for carrying a knife, because we're wanting to know, does the defense have some type of proof that shows that he had been having issues that warranted him to carry protection on him. And that's what remains to be seen. Today was the first day of technically really the trial kind of getting going. Tomorrow is another day. So I'm just going to continue to watch it and see, how it goes. Let me see, check the poll. So make sure you complete the poll question. Will Karmelo Anthony be found not guilty due to self-defense? 19% said yes, 50% said no, 31% said not sure. Yeah, I'm on the not sure part right now. I'm trying to remain subjective to it all. I'm trying to keep facts over feelings. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be optimistic that, the jury, will get it right and will be a fair trial. But it remains to be seen. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you know when I go live, because I do plan to come live again and kind of talk about the case some more as more information is reported on what's taking place in the courtroom during this trial over the next few weeks. Hopefully everything will kind of be wrapped up by the end of the month. Again, I don't know what the timeline is, but however long it takes, that's how long it takes to get it right. Right now, I don't know what right is as far as what an outcome. But as I continue to watch this case, I'm sure I'll form new opinions, and some of those opinions may be different from the opinions I expressed today, because my opinions on Monday are no longer the opinions I have today on Thursday, but that's life. So thank you for joining me on this live as I twist my hair. So let me just turn around. Again, this is me on my second lock journey. So yeah, so watch me grow as a content creator and as someone who is a part of the lock community. I will catch you all on the next broadcast. Take care of yourself. in one another, heavy on the taking care of yourself, because nobody got you like you. So make sure you take care of yourself and one another, and I will catch you on the next broadcast. Peace.